How did you spend $10,000? Burned money on strip clubs, but got away with it. Spent all $10,000 on parties, trying to regain the feeling of youth that I lost after the birth of my second child. I work in Atlanta and somehow accidentally got into the crowd, where strip clubs and eternal happy hour ruled everything. With each visit to the club, I thought, just a little more, and there will be enough emotions. But there was no enough. I just spent thousands on private dances, expensive drinks, tips. When I came to my senses, there were $50 left on the debit card. But I gained rare experience and realized that no shows will bring back the inner fire if it does not burn on its own. Paid for my father's longtime dream, to take him back to the Grand Canyon. When my dad was 25, he went to the Grand Canyon with his friends a couple of times. He told me all his life about the sunsets there, the views, that it was the best place on earth. But he never had the opportunity to go back. I saved up some money and decided to surprise him. I paid for everything. The flight from Pittsburgh, the hotel, the helicopter excursions, even fishing on the Colorado River, where the price tag was unreasonably high. In the end, everything came out to $10,000. But for my father's smile, I would shell out that money again. The only problem was that I had to sit in saving mode for 2 months. No pizza, movies, or new clothes for me. But my dad still tells everyone that the best trip of his life happened at 67. Rushed to Vegas and lost it all in one night. My friend and I had long dreamed of tickle our nerves, so we rushed off to Las Vegas for the weekend. The original plan was reasonable. Put a couple of hundred on roulette and, at best, recoup the hotel. But somewhere between a glass of whiskey and the noise of the slot machines, I lost track of time and money. I can't call myself an addict, but then the excitement took over. I bet on black, then on red, then on black again. Lost all $10,000 in a few hours. My friend broke down earlier and simply went to the bar, but I continued to bet in the hope of winning back. Lesson: Las Vegas does not forgive anyone a moment of weakness. I bought a priceless record with the Beatles' autograph. I grew up in a family where my mother adored the music of the 60s, and my father never stopped talking about the golden era of rock. When I managed to snag a collector's edition of Abbey Road with the band's autographs, I gave half of my savings without a second thought. It was a little over $6,500. The rest of the money went to auction and logistics fees, a total of close to $10,000. Some friends do not understand how you can shell out so much money for a vinyl, but for me it is a family heirloom and a drop of nostalgia for my father, who has already passed away. Now this record hangs in the living room under glass. And when I look at it, I remember the best days of my childhood. For 6 months, I drowned out my stress with expensive collectible whiskey. After my divorce, I fell into a prolonged depression. I lived in Seattle at the time, worked in IT, had enough money but no peace of mind. I noticed that I was ordering increasingly rare and expensive whiskeys. First Macallan Rare Cask for $300, then Glengowine 30-year-old for $800, and eventually it came to some terrible Japanese release for $2,000. If you add up everything that was bought and drunk, it comes to about $10,000. Friends and family found out late, but everyone supported me, and I eventually turned to a psychologist. Now I only collect empty bottles. They remind me how important it is to find real help and not try to drink away your problems. Unexpectedly made $10,000 in stocks and spent it immediately. I'm new to investing, and I got incredibly lucky with a biotech stock purchase. It went up 300% in a week, and I made almost 10 grand net. Of course, the adrenaline was running high, so I decided to celebrate. I bought expensive Yankees baseball tickets for $2,000, including the VIP area, stayed in a luxury hotel in Manhattan for a couple of days, bought food from fancy restaurants, paid friends for their share of an Airbnb. We went it together for the weekend. There's no money left, but I have memories of the best week of my life. After all, it's rare that you get the chance to pamper yourself like that. Invested in a concert of a childhood idol and almost lost my pants. When I heard that our small radio station in San Diego was going to organize a performance of a long-forgotten rock band, I almost jumped for joy. I decided to help at all costs. I contacted the manager, paid some additional expenses for sound and advertising. It cost me almost $10,000. The concert was great, but tickets sold poorly. Young people did not know the band, and old fans could not afford the prices. In the end, They returned me only a third of the amount. I still do not regret it. I got the opportunity to hang out with idols backstage, and for me it is priceless. Got a crazy idea and started a mini ranch in my backyard. I live near Austin, Texas. After years in the office, I wanted to be closer to nature. I bought too many cows. Yes, they're such dwarf breeds. For $4,000, had to remodel the backyard for them, put up a fence, make a shelter, and install water. Then there was paperwork, insurance, and feed. In total, it all came to about $10K. At first, my wife looked at me like I was crazy, but now we go out together in the mornings to milk our livestock. In reality, it's more of a care since we don't run a full-fledged farm. But the kids are delighted, and I feel like an amateur farmer. My little escape from reality. A trip to a game that I will remember for a long time. As a child, I was crazy about baseball, especially the Boston Red Sox. When I saved up exactly $10,000 on top of my usual expenses, I thought, why don't I go to Boston for the coolest game of the season? At the same time, I bought a ticket for my son, to whom I promised something special for his birthday. In the end, I took VIP seats for crazy money. We lived for a week in a hotel that was not even close to its price, ordered a taxi to the stadium and back. And each time I bought souvenirs that my son supposedly would need. In the end, after recounting, I realized that we had lost almost the entire 10. My son, of course, was in seventh heaven, but later my wife looked at the bank account and almost knocked us both off the home Olympus. I gave my ex an unexpected gift that I still regret. My ex-husband and I broke up 6 months ago. I was so confused at the time that I thought, what if all the problems are because he didn't have proper tools in his home workshop? And I came up with a great idea, to buy him a full set of professional equipment, from a new machine to heap drills, which cost a fortune. The bill came to about $10,000. I thought he would come back, or at least take it as a sign that I care about his hobbies. But no, he thanked me, took everything for himself, and a month later he was posting photos on social media of him taking a break from work in his fancy new workshop. And I was left without money and without hope. A vintage comic book collection that accidentally grew. It all started innocently. I stumbled upon an online auction where I saw a rare issue of a DC comic that I loved as a teenager. Then I came across another one, this time from Marvel, and off we went. Each lot cost several $100s, but in total, I clicked through almost 10 in a couple of months. The funniest thing is that I never opened most of them, because the film and protection remain inside, all according to the rules of collectors. Now they lie neatly in boxes under the bed, and I pay rent for a small warehouse where I plan to move it all. Sometimes I think, wouldn't it be better to pay for my son's summer camp than to store silent comics? Lost my voice at family karaoke and had to fix everything. We live in Los Angeles, and we have a tradition. On Fridays, the whole family gathers in the garage to sing karaoke. Dad used to sing in a youth group, and I got into it after him. One day, it hit me to set up a professional karaoke studio for us in the basement. First, I bought cool mixers, then speakers, then special lighting, soundproofing. Every little thing pulled out hundreds of dollars and sometimes thousands. In the end, when I counted, it came to about $10K. Our parties, of course, sparkled with new colors. But my sister said, "You're something, you could have put at least half of it aside for a vacation." Rented a luxury Airbnb for classmates, but they didn't come. I was a typical underpopular guy in school, and I always dreamed of inviting my old friends to a fancy party someday, to show that I was worth something too. When the opportunity presented itself, I snagged a nice bonus at work and rented a huge house in Sonoma for $7,000 for the weekend, plus food, alcohol service. I threw an invitation into the general chat, promised drinks, a grill, and a pool, but literally everyone dropped out at the last minute. Someone was going to their mother-in-law's, someone caught a cold. In the end, there were only 4 people among all the splendor. We had a good time, but I still felt resentful. I wasted 10 on my own, and I couldn't prove anything to anyone. Ordered a dream come true for my mom, but only received receipts. My mom had been saying for years that she wanted to see Hawaii. Her friend had flown there and elevated these islands to the rank of heaven on earth. I decided to give her an unforgettable surprise and bought a tour for 2. All-inclusive, plus excursions, helicopter rides, swimming with dolphins. Sounds great, but at the last moment it turned out that my mom was starting to have health problems and doctors did not recommend her to fly at all. I almost didn't get back the money for the reservation and tickets, and I had to reissue the tour in another name. In the end, my friends flew, and my mom stayed home. She sat, looked at the photos, and said that she was very happy for me. But I felt terrible. 10,000 went into the void, and most importantly, her dream never came true. Discovered my wife's unexpected talent when I hired her a personal culinary guru. My wife loves to cook, but she always complained that she lacked the skills to really create. I decided to support her passion and found a chef in San Francisco who gives private lessons in his kitchen. I paid in advance for a 3-month course, almost 10,000, including consumables and utensils. She was happy, and I was happy too, until I realized that this mostly resulted in crazy expenses. Each lesson she was asked to buy new ingredients, and some cost almost 1,000 for a couple of kilograms. The result, of course, was amazing. Now we have restaurant-quality dishes at home, but the bank account has lost a little weight. Lost my head at an antiques fair and left with a bunch of breathing trunks. I went to a small town in Maine just to hang out at their local fair. And then I was drawn to the antiques tent. Old clocks, chests, lamps. Everything seemed insanely beautiful to me. Spent about $10K on all sorts of furniture and junk. I thought I would decorate the living room in vintage style. Brought this stuff home to Massachusetts and discovered that some of the chests smelled of mold, and there were bugs inside. The clock didn't work at all, and I had to throw out the lamp because it was rotten from the inside. Now sometimes I laugh. Yes, I invested $10K in insects and trash. But this is a good lesson. The thrill of collecting can be insidious. I decided to congratulate my niece on her college graduation and turn her life into a TikTok show. My niece graduated from college in California, and I wanted to throw her a bright graduation. I hired a photographer, a blogger, some kind of influencer, ordered sky lanterns, rented a limo, and even organized a fireworks display. All this, of course, cost a lot of money, about $10,000. At first, my niece was jumping for joy until she realized that a crowd with cameras was following her and almost stage footage was being filmed. In the end, she posted a couple of stories and then began to hide, tired of the fake fuss. Yes, there was a spectacular graduation which got a lot of views, but there was no real spiritual celebration there. And now I'm not sure whether this whole show was worth such expenses. Took my parents on wine tours and left myself without a wine budget. My parents always wanted to feel like gourmets and try real California wines. I decided to make their dream come true and paid for a tour of several wineries in Napa. I rented a luxury room, ordered a private tour with a sommelier, rented a limousine, all top-notch. It turned out that such services cost a fortune, and when I added up all the bills, the figure exceeded $10,000. My parents, of course, were delighted. They had never seen them so pampered. The only thing is that when I returned home, I noticed that I didn't have a cent left to buy even one bottle of wine for myself. Now I know exactly what life tastes like. Exquisite, but terribly expensive. I bought my wife a super expensive bag, but she's afraid to wear it. My wife has long had her eye on famous brands, but we couldn't afford such expenses. When I was given a decent bonus, I decided to surprise her and bought a bag for $5,000. The rest of the money went on related little things. A new wallet, a scarf, accessories. As a result, the entire amount neatly flew away in a couple of hours in a boutique in the center of San Francisco. My wife's happiness lasted exactly until the moment when she had to go out with this bag. Now she worries that it will be scratched, dirty, or God forbid stolen. As a result, the accessory stands in a closed closet, and I periodically remember what bill I paid for this museum relic. Got mad and rented a boat for fishing, even though I'm not a fisherman at all. My friends organize a big fishing weekend in the Chesapeake Bay every year, and I always stayed away. I didn't like getting up early, and I didn't know how to fish. But last year I was so fed up with the office routine that I decided to fit in. I rented a motorboat for 2 days with a captain, gear, and everything. I agreed that they would cook the caught fish right on board. The whole idea cost $10. In the end, I got terribly seasick, caught nothing except for one small fish, and my friends even pulled up in their old boats and had a picnic on the shore. To say that I regretted it is to say nothing. But it was fun, and perhaps that was enough at that time. Filled the house with electronics to turn it into a smart nest. I always dreamed of a house from science fiction films, where everything is controlled by voice. I started with a smart speaker, and then it all went. Smart locks, cameras, automatic curtains, climate control system, motion sensors in the hallways. I even bought a smart toilet that disinfects itself and warms the seat. Total, almost 10,000. It's funny that now I don't turn on regular lights manually, but at the first network failure, my wife and I sit in the dark because our door keys are virtual and smart bulbs don't work without Wi-Fi. Sometimes I think that maybe we entered this digital era too early. Wanted to introduce my son to sports, signed him up for a soccer program in Europe. In Dallas, everyone teased my son for being too skinny for soccer. I found an international camp that invited teenagers to train with European coaches and sent him there for a month. Travel, accommodation, insurance, equipment. It all came to a good 10,000. In the end, he spent 4 weeks in Germany, saw almost no sights because he was training all the time, and came back so tired that he doesn't want to go to local games in Texas at all. I spent a lot of money to kickstart his career, and he says he's tired of soccer for life. Lesson learned. Sometimes children's dreams don't match their parents' plans. I used a yacht for a romantic evening, but hurt my back. I don't know why I got the idea to surprise my wife. To organize a cruise on a small yacht off the coast of Florida. I found an option through friends, supposedly cheap and cool. It turned out that cheap is a relative concept. Fuel, skipper's fee, food, music, decorations, photographer were not taken into account. In the end, everything came to 10,000. In addition, we squatted down to arrange flower arrangements on the deck, and I hurt my back so much that I spent the entire romantic voyage gritting my teeth in pain. My wife, of course, appreciated the efforts, but then cautiously said that she would prefer just a quiet weekend at a hotel on the shore. I collected a collection of rare autographs, but now I'm afraid to keep them. I'm a fan of 80-90s music. All my life I've been chasing ink trophies. I have signatures of singers and bands that are hard to find performing anymore. As soon as I had some extra money, I decided to finish off the collection. I bought several autographs on vinyl, t-shirts, and posters. All the rarities cost about 10,000. Now I'm sitting and shaking so that neither moisture nor sunlight will damage them. And I haven't really thought about insurance. Periodically I take out this stuff, admire it, and think, what if I give it to some museum for an exhibition? But I'm afraid I'll have to pay for security too. Want a trip to a TV show? And the expenses ate up the entire prize. I was lucky in a local lottery. I was given a chance to appear on a popular cooking show in Hollywood. It seemed like it was free, but before that I had to undergo additional training, buy expensive products, and even live there for a week because the filming was delayed. The hotel, flights, sewing a uniform, cooking tools, all in all, it all came to 10,000. In the end, only 6 of my short segments were aired, and I was unable to win first place. But I have a story for life and a huge hole in my pocket, which I had to cover with accelerated part-time jobs after the show. Tested all the local restaurants in a couple of weeks, and then couldn't look at the food. I work in food technology and decided to improve my professionalism by tasting all the gastronomic wonders of Seattle. Every day, a new restaurant, often expensive. I ordered tasting sets, delicious desserts, paid for rare wines. On paper, it looked cool. Supposedly, I will broaden my horizons, meet the chefs. But in 2 weeks, I spent 10,000 and got stomach problems. From unfamiliar dishes and constant overeating, my body rebelled. But now I can confidently tell you where the best seafood is, and where the Thai noodles are. The only question is whether this gastronomic marathon was worth such a blow to the wallet and health. Sent my sister on a retreat in the mountains, and she ran away after 3 days. My sister was constantly complaining about stress, burnout, and saying that she needs a break away from people. I searched for something suitable for a long time and came across an overpriced retreat in Colorado. Silence, yoga, meditation, organic food. Paid for the full package, including massages and consultations with spiritual mentors. It came out to almost $10K. 3 days later, she called me in tears, begging me to buy a ticket for a return flight because she was scared alone in the cabin at night, and meditating 3 hours a day did not help, but rather made her nervous. In the end, I spent another couple of hundred to get her home. She now laughs that it would have been better if we had spent that money on a normal vacation for the whole family.